Stay with us, gentlemen. Much more to discuss right now, though. We want to find out the latest developments out of Riyadh. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has met Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in the Saudi capital, and they are expected to be putting pressure on Saudi leaders to come up with a vision for a post-war Gaza. Rubio has already met with Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud in the Saudi capital. President Donald Trump's surprising suggestion that Gazans voluntarily relocate to other countries has been slammed by many nations in the Middle East, including Saudi Arabia. So, for more, we now go live to our senior U.S. correspondent, Mike Wagenheim. He joins us from Riyadh. Marco Rubio has some major meetings there in the Saudi capital on the back of his blitz visit to Israel. Of course, what is the U.S. Secretary of State hoping to hear from Saudi leaders when it comes to the war in Gaza? And of course, Donald Trump's grand plan for what he calls the Riviera in Gaza down the line.
Well, first, let's get you caught up, Anita. The meeting between Rubio and Mohammed bin Salman, which was joined by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and Middle East Peace Envoy Steve Witkoff, just ended, according to the State Department moments ago. That meeting, which included a dinner with the Crown Prince, lasted around 3 hours. So apparently very substantive, deep discussion there between the four gentlemen involved in that meeting. Of course, what the Americans want out of this is a way forward, a path forward. Donald Trump laid out his vision, his plan, his philosophy. In the end, he doesn't want to have to send military into Gaza. He doesn't want to have to spend the money to create the Riviera of the Middle East. Wants the Arab world to take care of that, which has been the American position for quite some time, and that the Arab world needs to do more to take care of the Gazans now, especially so. So he's looking for Saudi leadership on this issue. He's looking for the Saudis to group together with the Egyptians, the Jordanians, the Emiratis, the Oman, anybody who has a position, anybody who has a stake in the Israeli-Palestinian and the larger Israeli-Arab conflict, to put skin in the game here and develop some cohesive, coherent plan going forward. And it begins with the Saudis because of their credibility in the region, because they don't really, answer to the Americans, so to speak, the way the Egyptians and the Jordanians do, in the way that they're more reliant on American military and economic aid. So above all, the Saudis need to take the reins here, according to the Americans. What does that plan look like? Well, it's going to have to be in tandem with those other countries. The Saudis can take the lead, but they can't dictate to everybody else how things need to be done. They're the ones that say, don't dictate to us, so they really can't dictate to others right now. So I think this meeting tonight was really to get a lay of the land, to see what kind of feedback Riyadh has been getting from their neighbors throughout the region in terms of the Trump plan and where to go from here, and try to develop some sort of a conduit here, some sort of smooth mechanism to move forward. Don't forget, we'll have the Arab Summit coming up on, I believe now, February 28th. It was delayed a day, but February 28th seems to be the landing spot for that. And a five-nation meeting will take place in just a few days to try to set the groundwork for that larger summit here. So this is just step one along the way, but a critical step in getting the Saudis on board with some kind of vision and leadership role going forward here, Benita.
Of course, the question will remain, if the Saudis say no, what does Trump and his administration do next? Looking even further down the line, Mike, where does all of this leave the path towards normalization? Expanding the circle of peace discussions between Saudi Arabia and Israel before October 7th was so close. Obviously, a scupper in the works, to put it mildly. Is that discussion back on track? Is that likely being discussed in the meetings underway in Riyadh in the coming hours?
Well, certainly it's being discussed, and I think it plays to your statement you just made a moment ago. What happens if the Saudis say no? The Saudis are going to say no to the Trump plan. The bigger question is, what are they going to say yes to? It's not an all-or-nothing scenario here. They can say, no, you're not going to forcibly remove Gazans and take over the Strip by yourself, but they can say yes to a host of other things and find that common ground going forward. And one of those items might be normalization. Now, keep in mind the Abraham Accords method before, although it may have been an accidental method, was we, being the Americans and the Israelis, will pull back last time it was on applying sovereignty over parts of Judea and Samaria in order to get other Arab countries on board with normalization. Could they possibly take a similar tack now? It's Donald Trump throwing out maximalist demands. Benjamin Netanyahu said just days ago that he wants the Palestinians, or rather the Saudis, to open up a patch of land for Gazans to move on to. You start to gather now that maybe they're going to offer to pull back on some of their more, I don't know if you want to call it extreme, maximalist, whatever, high demands, high rhetoric, in order to get the Saudis on board for some avenue, some opening toward normalization, Benita.
Live from Riyadh, senior U.S. correspondent Mike Wagenheim. Thank you very much, Mike. More to come from our correspondent in the Saudi capital in the coming hours.